What's up, Ravens fans? The draft is now in the books, and that's brought on a whole new group of questions that we've worked through today. So let's just jump right into it in this week's Ravens mailbag. This first question comes from Devin Johnson, and the question is, which rookies will earn a starting role for the 2017 season?
Well, this is a tough one. I mean, I don't think that any rookie you can say, oh yeah, definitely going to be a starter from day one. But obviously the guy that probably has the best chance will be first-round pick cornerback Marlon Humphrey. Now, he's going to have a tough battle ahead. Probably he and Brandon Carr are going to compete for that number 2 spot opposite of Jimmy Smith. And I think that Marlon will give him a good run for his money. I mean, Marlon's very talented. They want to get him pressuring guys at the line of scrimmage and whatnot. But let's not forget, he's 20 years old. He was just a sophomore at Alabama. So he's got some room to grow here, some technique issues that he's going to have to improve on. And you have Brandon Carr, who's done it for a really long time. So I think that probably Marlon Humphrey will become a starter at some point during this next season. To ask him to be that guy from day one, I don't know. That's asking a lot in my opinion. And then you look at Tyus Bowser, the second-round pick. Based on need, I think he probably has a better shot than Marlon does because the Ravens, Elvis Dumervil left Baltimore. So Tyus Bowser, I think, could take that rush outside linebacker spot. He would probably be sharing that role, though, because you still have Matthew Judon. You also have Tim Williams. You have a lot of guys in play for that position. So I think he could get a lot of snaps. Whether he's the starter, I'm not so sure.
What about Nico Siragusa? The guard, center maybe, out of San Diego State. He started for the last 3 seasons. He's a big boy, 315, 320 pounds. I think maybe he does he slide in at left guard, and then there's some flexibility with Alex Lewis to maybe play right tackle?
Well, if you're talking about need right now, yes. The Ravens have the biggest need on the offensive line. They have open starting positions at center and right tackle, and because you mentioned Alex Lewis, he could go to right tackle. There's position flexibility where guard could really open up. That's where Nico would probably be a starter from day one if that were to happen. But I still think the Ravens could add some veterans on that offensive line that would make it tough for him to start from day one.
All right, let's jump into another question here. This one comes to us from Patrick Cleary. The question is, now that the draft is over and Ozzie shied away from offensive skill position.
Wait, he did?
Yeah,
you didn't draft anybody
no
yet?
wide receiver.
I didn't hear anything about that.
I've heard it once or twice. Does that mean we're expecting big things from unproven players like Rashad Perriman, Chris Moore, Darren Waller? Yeah, I think they are expecting big things from some of these guys. They drafted Rashad Perriman in the first round, so of course they're expecting big things from him. I look at Chris Moore, who was a 4th-round pick last year. The Ravens were really high on him at this point, and even Mike Wallace said recently he feels like some people are sleeping on this group, and he expects big things out of Chris Moore. So there's kind of a little bit of buzz about him. I'd go back to what Ozzie said after the draft. He said, at this time last year, everyone was asking him, who's going to be your starting inside linebacker? And they said at the time, we'll see. Ended up being Zachary Orr next to C.J. Mosley, and Zach Orr had a heck of a season.
Pretty well, yeah.
So sometimes you have to give these young guys an opportunity to go out there and win jobs, and they're hoping that one of these players, maybe it's a Chris Moore, maybe it's a Michael Campanaro, whoever it is, ends up filling that role and plays at a really high level.
Yeah, agreed. The last question comes from Joseph Furby, and he asks, what are the Ravens doing at the center position? Well, I think the Ravens have some options. We talked about Nico Siragusa earlier. They'll give him a chance, I think, at center. Even though he hasn't played it in college, he'll get a look inside there. And he said he's willing to play. He's willing to play anywhere.
He's willing to play wide receiver. He's willing to play anywhere on the field. Yeah.
But Nico will get a look there. They also have some in-house options already. John Urschel, and they have Ryan Jensen. Both guys have played center for the Ravens. They can step in there and do it. And then remember this guy, Nick Mangold, who reportedly came in here for a visit?
Yeah.
I think that the Ravens could give him another look now that they're beyond the draft and they didn't draft a true center. Do they circle back to Mangold and say, all right, we feel like he's an upgrade for us there and can really kind of anchor this line? I think that's a possibility.
There are still some good players out there on the market. And as he said, he says it all the time, we're not done adding players. They're still out there looking. So maybe they do that at center. Maybe they do that wide receiver.
But we're done answering questions.
I know. Those are all the questions we have time for today. But we love hearing from you guys. So send in those questions on social media using the hashtag RavensMailbag. Thanks for watching today and have a great rest of your day.